When I was a little kid, we used to go to the beach in Australia, and I remember standing next to my dad once and saying, "Why do the waves never stop?" The only way the waves stop or the job stops is you turn your back to it. I'm preserving energy to let me do the job for a decade, not for 4 years. You can be sprinting all the time. You will not last.
From the outside, the life of a CEO may appear to be days filled with lunch meetings, TV appearances, and client golf outings. The reality is that the job is relentless, balancing the demands of a wide range of stakeholders across multiple time zones. When James Gorman took the helm at Morgan Stanley in January of 2010, these demands were even more intense than normal. The global economy was still reeling from the great financial crisis. For the past 14 years, James Gorman not only led Morgan Stanley through periods of uncertainty, he also transformed the business, more than tripled its stock price, and reshaped the culture of an 88-year-old institution. As global head of banks and diversified finance research at Morgan Stanley, I've followed James Gorman's career as both an analyst and as an employee. So I was eager to sit down with Gorman, who is now serving as Morgan Stanley's executive chairman, to learn his strategies for goal setting, deal making, and keeping his cool in a job that, like the waves of the ocean, never stops. James, so nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be here with you, Betsy.
Over the past several years, my colleagues in research have been interviewing top CEOs globally. I'm so excited about the fact that we finally have been able to get you to be in the hot seat here.
I was wondering if you'd ever ask me. You've had amazing people do this, so I'm very honored.
I do want to first kick off with stepping back to 2009, the year that you accepted the CEO position. It was the middle of the great financial crisis. What was going through your mind?
I think at a personal level, I hadn't come to Morgan Stanley to be CEO of Morgan Stanley. It wasn't like a career plan. I'd come to fix a very troubled business, which was our wealth management business. So when I became CEO, honestly, I was a little surprised that there weren't more people internally who could have done it. Some people run towards the fire, if you will, to put it out, and some people run away. And my instinct has always been to move towards where the drama is and try and figure out how to resolve it. There was no greater drama than what the banking sector went through in the financial crisis. And at the epicenter of that was certainly Morgan Stanley, along with 4 or 5 other places. And we were terribly fragile. So I wasn't intimidated by the gravity of what we were facing. I thought it was an extraordinary opportunity to make some really interesting calls.
Not intimidated. I think that puts you in a very small group of people.
I guess my philosophy in life has always been understand catastrophic risk. And if you can deal with that, you can kind of deal with whatever the outcome is beyond that. We'd survived the financial crisis. So we'd proven in the most difficult of circumstances we could survive. So I felt the institution had the bones that we could build off of. I had a very clear view even then as to what the strategic direction should be.
Strategic direction, 2009, where were you thinking of taking the organization?
My focus was on how do we take what was magical about Morgan Stanley, but build some stability to it so when these inevitable, very rough waters come, which they do in financial markets, we're much better prepared for it. So that was the genesis of it.
I've been covering financials, banks for about 30 plus years. I've interfaced with quite a wide range of managements. I have to say, you stand out for your nimble decisiveness and your ability to get things done. Where does the top 10 list factor into execution of that vision?
To ensure that you stay on track, you need to get stuff done. So the first day of every year, I would sit with a clean sheet of paper and write down, and that's the top 10 list you're referring to, write down 10 things that were going to happen that year. And it was a way of making sure that you're not so obsessed with the daily minutiae. You don't actually move big things around. and you're not so visionary with long-term direction, that you kind of forget you're supposed to get stuff done. The more complicated the situation, the more simple the pathways for solutions have to be. What a lot of people in leadership positions, I think, make mistakes of, because they're dealing with a lot of complexity, they get very complex. And you lose the organization, you lose the narrative, you lose the audience, you lose the investor, you lose the analyst. So I felt I had some tools for sort of keeping us grounded.
Top 10, was it ever 6 or 8?
No.
Always 10?
Yeah.
Does it get harder to find 10 things as the years rolled by?
Oh, God, no. In the early years, it's about fixing problems. In the middle years, it's about driving strategic growth, deals and the like. And in the latter years, it's much more about building the talent for the future. So each year had a different set of cadence. There were some strategic things each year, but more and more managerial development in the latter years and more fixer-upper problem solving in the early years.
Solium, E-Trade, Eaton Vance, MUFG, Mitsubishi United Financial Group, right? What's very interesting about all of these examples is the window to get these transactions accomplished was in some cases so short. What's your secret sauce for negotiating?
Number one, you can't delegate it. I've always negotiated myself, all the big stuff. You get advice from people who do this for a living. Obviously, our investment banking team is world class, and I got advice from the M&A leadership and others. But ultimately, you have to go in the room one-on-one. Secondly, I'm very transparent with the counterparty as to what we're trying to do. I don't play games. It's a full reveal. It's like, here's what we're trying to do. We'd like to buy your company. Here is the strategic logic for it. We're reasonable people. We won't jerk around. We'll share any information you want, and we'll pay a full price. Complete transparency. You have to go into it knowing exactly what success looks like and be prepared to move extremely quickly and give up on some of the perfection. Would you rather get a deal done with slightly less than perfect information or not done with perfect information? So if you're going to try and buy a great company like when we bought E-Trade or Eaton Vance or Smith Barney, you pay for it. And you tell them, we're going to pay for this. We're going to make your shareholders really happy about it. And by the way, if it's stock for stock and they own our stock, it's going to turn into a home run. You're going to get paid well up front and the stock's going to grow that you got. You mentioned the MUFG conversion. I flew to Japan overnight to meet with my counterpart, Nobu Hirano. We met at the Westin Hotel in Tokyo, and it started with me pulling out a napkin, literally, on the table, a paper napkin, drawing a line down the middle of it, and putting on the left-hand side of it, Nobu wants, and on the right-hand side, James wants. And I said, what would you want? What do you want out of this? And he told me his things, and I told him my things, and I crossed off the ones that sort of matched, and it put circles around the ones that didn't. I said, this is where we need to focus. We got a deal done, which resulted in what has been phenomenal for Morgan Stanley and phenomenal for MUFG. You've got to seize the moment. To get deals done, there are 4 things that matter. One is the strategic fit. If it's off strategy, just don't do it. Number 2 is the culture can't be damaging. It can be neutral. It doesn't have to be additive. But you can't merge with something that, think of how many companies you've seen in financial services, plus every other industry, where you say it turned out to be a cultural disaster, and the deal failed for that. The third is the timing of it. When the door opens, you walk through. You don't wait for when it's convenient for you. You have to act. And I guess that's what you've been so nice to point out, the nimbleness. But if it's available, act. Don't look for all the world to be perfect. Just go. And finally, obviously, price. And I would say price is the least important. You have to see the big picture, which means you have to move very fast. You can't agonize about the last 50 cents. Just pay it 50 cents a share. Pay it, get the deal done.
How were you able to keep your cool?
I think part of it's, your personality. I have a style of greeting problems sort of in the same way as I greet things that are good. I mean, stuff happens, and you can't lose your lunch every time something bad happens. I call every new CEO in the Fortune 500 within a month or so of them getting their job, and many globally. And they always ask sort of, how do you do it? And I say, are you playing for a duration or a sprint? Do you think you want to do it a decade? If you do, you've got to be in balance. On any given day, you'll be out of balance, but at some points, you've got to rebalance. You've got to nourish yourself. So I think part of it is your personal temperament. And part of it is I just felt that it's my responsibility. I mean, if you're given the job, you're supposed to do it. And the job doesn't come in a neat little package with a pink ribbon around it. On the front of all our buildings in the world are our core values. And one of them is do the right thing. And if your job is to be CEO, you better do it.
How do you ensure that that culture permeates globally? 80,000 plus people.
Don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. I mean, how you behave as leaders. And I think the leadership team, I'm very proud of. I think they're tremendous human beings. They really reflect our cultural values. And that's not by chance. That's why they're the leadership team.
So top 10 list for this year, anything on there that you can share with us?
It was a blank sheet of paper, deliberately. The day I became not the CEO, I stopped being a CEO in all regards. And I tell every CEO I meet, they say, how have you managed this transition, which has gone very well? I said, it starts with a very basic principle. Do you, as the boss, want to leave the job? And I did, unambiguously. I loved it, but I wanted to stop it. But what that does is it frees you up to ensure your successor has every opportunity to succeed.
James, thank you so much for your time today, and more importantly, sharing all your insights as to how you so successfully ran Morgan Stanley.
I really appreciate it, and I've been honored to be interviewed. Thank you.